Hey y'all, it's Diana from the Dianaverse, and I am here to do your Pisces full moon on August 31st, 2023 forecast. Beautiful full moon we've got coming up. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe so you get a notification when they come out. I don't always get it posted on social media right away, so if you want to be alerted when they first come out, when the moon is happening, then please like this. Share it with anybody you know who likes astrology so that they can maybe join in the fun. I've got one event coming up that I wanted to announce. That's going to be on September 23rd and 24th. This is that deep dive into hawthorn that I've been talking about the last few videos. Hawthorn berries will be ripe, and we will be exploring all kinds of things about hawthorn in this particular lunation. It'll be coming up close to the autumn equinox, not quite there, but getting into that vibe. Fall is already kind of starting here in the Seattle area. We're getting some actual rain today. What they don't tell you about Seattle is it doesn't rain for like 3 months in the summer at all during your growing season. But we do have some light rain going on. I've seen some leaves gently falling to the ground the last week, so we're heading into late summer here. Anyway, this hawthorn workshop is going to be all kinds of things around hawthorn. I wanted to do some interdisciplinary things in this workshop. I like tying a lot of different things together and having a more holistic view of working with a plant and a season and a place. So hawthorn is a sacred tree in northern the British Isles. It's a fairy tree, so we'll be talking a lot about folklore. We'll be gathering berries. We'll be making foods and medicines with those. We will do some ritual work, some journeying with the plant meditation. We'll also gather enough of the leaves and twigs to do a dye bath. We're going to be making a dye that we can, everyone who participates will be able to take a sample of that home. It'll be fun to compare the dye that we get in the fall when she's going into her Caliac phase with the dye that I got in the spring, which was during the Bridget phase. That was at the May Day, the Beltane celebration. This is going to be more towards the Samhain. It's not quite, we're a little early for Samhain, but we'll be talking about that. So you'll be able to take what you learn here and have food, medicine, folklore to go with the season, rituals that you can do for Samhain. We'll do natural dyes, so it'll be a whole weekend thing. We'll meet for 6 hours each day that's on a weekend, trying to accommodate. Everybody works all kinds of hours these days, and I'm open to doing the class with other people on other dates. It just can't be too many different dates or it gets a little chaotic. But so if this is something you'd be interested in, you can email me. I'll put a link down at the bottom, and I can give you more information and about the times and the what we're doing and the costs and all that. So look for that at the bottom if you're in the Seattle area, and I'm just south of Seattle in King County, if you'd like to participate in that. Okay, hope you'll join me. So back to the full moon. So as you know, we're in Virgo season with the sun, right? Virgo is priestess energy. It's about drawing down the inspiration, the celestial inspiration, and making it tangible and real in the world. So it's about discernment, because you have to cipher or sift through all the information you get in life and make your best choices to make practical things happen. This is the season of the harvest, so Virgo also rules the digestive system. That's the body system that Virgo is associated with. And during this full moon, in the Pisces full moon, Pisces is the opposite sign from Virgo, because the full moon is always the sun sign and the opposite sign on the zodiac wheel that's reflecting that back, because the moon and the sun are on opposite sides of the sun from where we're looking at from Earth. So we call that an axis. So it's the Pisces Virgo axis. And if you remember back to around February, when we had the opposite thing going on, we had Pisces season with our Virgo full moon. I talked about it being the celestial mermaid, right? Because you have the head is in of the mermaid is in Virgo and the tail is in Pisces, and this is your celestial mermaid swimming through the skies. So now we're on the other end of that axis. We have the head of that mermaid, which is the Virgo, and so it's a lot about discernment and deciphering our best choices, where at the other end of the year, when we were in February, it was about swimming through the emotion and our connections and connecting the dots. So during this particular full moon, it's a great time for discernment. Now Virgo has a reputation for being a little nitpicky, right? So that's because they're trying to make the best choices. They're trying to use their discernment. Now you want to make sure that doesn't descend into nitpickiness and being overly critical of other people's choices. This particular lunation is going to be conjunct Saturn, which is about finality, it's about reality, but that Saturn is in Pisces. So we're getting a lot more of that Pisces energy flowing in. You want to make sure that your discernment and your choices aren't becoming overly critical, that maybe you end up cutting things off due to criticism. You want to keep a sense of compassion. The Pisces is the compassion. Pisces is also like the world, like keeping in mind other people's feelings, the society in general. We may feel a little disempowered. That can be a thing in Pisces, is feeling overwhelmed, feeling disempowered, especially where we're working with that Saturn. It's like, the world's just not working the way I want it to. So it's good to keep your networks, right? Don't cut bridges where you might really need that support. Saturn can become isolated. You want to keep your community. You want to keep compassion. You also still want to use that discernment, right? If there are things that are just really not working, this is a time to maybe cut some things, but don't cut them in anger. Try to cut them with compassion, like wish the best for everybody, and you just got to move on. I know my particular chart, like I have a tendency to want to get angry because it gives me that energy to move forward, and it's not always the best way to proceed. So, depending on your own personal chart, how you work with ending things, it's just good to keep compassion, to realize there's a lot of the big outer planets, the societal changes, are things that are beyond our control, right? And we have to figure out how we work with that, how we fit in. So if things aren't going the way you want, I've had a little bit of that. We can feel a little angry, right? But keep in mind that there are bigger forces at work and that you might have to work through it, right? Pisces is a little slower sign, so you might have to work through some things. I've had to do some shadow work. You still want to be open to compassion for other people. So when things are working, when you are able to do things together, you want to be able to receive that and not shut it out because something else isn't working, right? So that's something I'm working on, and keeping that in mind. That moon is going to be, and the moon is like the body, it's like the body of the people, right? It's moving between that Saturn. So seeing those things for the people, where things have to change. And it's moving between that and Neptune, which has Neptune, right? Is that Neptune or is that Uranus? Wait, where am I? Let me find myself on the wheel. Yes, Neptune, I was right. Neptune can be illusions. We might not have all the facts yet. There may be things you haven't considered yet. So try to keep an open mind there. It's a great time for dreaming, but realizing that some of those dreams aren't gonna quite, the moon is moving between that Saturn, which is reality, and that Neptune, which is your dreams. And so it's not totally comfortable because we can't get everything we want, and sometimes Saturn can overreact and shut down. So we want to keep the flow of that water, that Uranus, I have Uranus on the brain, that Neptune, all that Pisces energy. You got to keep things flowing. Try not to get stuck, right? It is a time for some changes because we've got the Venus retrograde in Leo, which is about the self and your values and what you want. And it's retrograde, so you're going back over these things. And another thought about that Venus in retrograde, where is she? In retrograde, she is ending things. She is like changing things up because she has just crossed the star point. One of her Venus makes a 5-pointed star. I talked about this in the last video. And so she's just crossed over one of those points. And so she's in a new 8-year cycle. Throat's a little dry. Sorry, I might cough a little bit. Should have brought a glass of water with me. See, I needed that Pisces watery energy. So that 8-year cycle, she is wrapping some stuff up. She is moving into some new things. So, there's like a transition. You don't generally in life just boom, end one thing, move straight into the next thing, right? There can be some transitional things that go on. Virgo is a planet of delegation. So keep that in mind, especially if you have strong Virgo placements in your own chart, like sun sign, moon sign, ascendant. If you've got a whole bunch of planets in Virgo, you might spend some time thinking about how your dreams can move forward if you do a little more delegating, right? Find the right person, the right mentor, the right expert at something, someone who's good at what you want to carry out that can help you. Don't try to just shoulder everything on your own. And are there any other major things going on? So Uranus just went retrograde. That's why I knew I was wanting to get to that, but it just kept getting on my tongue before I got there. So Uranus just went retrograde. It's in Taurus still. And so that can be like big changes, big things happening. There could be water events going on in the world. We see this big, I think it's a hurricane now, that tropical storm Idalia moving through in the southeast. So there can be some watery things going on, like the water just showed up here in Seattle. Luckily, it's not a huge event. It's a huge event that it's actually raining because it hasn't really rained much for a few months, but it's not like a hurricane. But there can be those sort of things going on. There can be emotional watersheds where you suddenly blurt something out, or and Uranus is in Taurus, so that's an earth sign. So it can be about your home foundations. It can be the land. It can be family foundations that get shaken up. So look for things in there, and just remember that part about try to have compassion. Everyone's working through their stuff, so including you or me, right? So these will be especially strong, like I said, for people with Virgo, also people with Pisces, because you got that Pisces full moon that's shaking, letting things flow, right? So if you have strong Pisces placements, it can also be that. Pisces rules the feet in astrology, so look for any accidents or old injuries, things flaring up at the feet. Virgo, like I said, is the digestion. So this is a perfect recipe for people with gout. If you have gout or know someone with gout, this is a time to be especially vigilant about like your diet or your whatever protocols you use to help ward that off. Because you could have a flare-up. You could have, I've noticed my ankle, got whatever weird fibromyalgia thing going on with my ankle the last few years. It's flaring up a little bit. I was noticing that yesterday. I have Chiron in Pisces, so it's the feet areas, lower below the knees. things can be going on. So whatever you can do to help that. My plan for this month, what I was going to suggest is the resins, like your pine resins, your cedars, things that you make these resins with. They really get it in there and will work with circulation. Your joints are an area that don't get great blood flow typically. Yoga can really help that. But as far as plants, the resins from the trees, these are the resins aren't the sap, you know, they're like a different kind of substance, and they're what the trees use to repair themselves. And they really work great for us too, especially on the joints and getting circulation into those joints. They take a little while to dissolve into oil if you're making a salve and you're infusing them into oils. So it's a good time if you can find some of these trees that might have some resin coming out. For usually it's a place where the tree has been injured, so you don't want to like dig out all the resin in a wound of a tree. You want to leave the tree something to work with too, but you can get enough to dissolve in some oil. A little bit goes a long way, and it'll be ready for you by next Pisces season, when it's been winter and your joints might be a little achy too. So it's a good time to prepare that medicine. I know I used a, what's the pine tree I'm trying to think of? Up in the mountains, it's got long needles. The name is escaping me right now. Shoot. Anyway, up in the Cascades, I got resin and I made salve from that, and I used that last spring, and it really helped my ankle joint with its ongoing thing. So that is my plant recommendation. As far as a stone to work with for this lunation, you know, mermaids like sparkly things. So I would go with anything that's got sparkly. I've come across a few rocks lately that had mica inclusions in them. I found some granite that had little mica sparkles, and so anything like that that's got little mica bits in it. I found some at a store. It was rhodonite, I think it was. Anyway, it was a pink, really dark pink stone. It had little mica inclusions in it, and that was really fun to look at. So those would be my recommendations. Watch out for your digestion as we're in Virgo season. You know, it's a good time to purify your diet if you've kind of strayed into, you know, summer with the fruits. You end up with a little bit of sugar. So it's a good time to kind of clean up your diet. And yeah, that's kind of it for this lunation, I think. Hope y'all are having a great summer, enjoying your harvest season, and I will see you again in 2 weeks for the new moon. And until then, take care. Bye, y'all.